Welcome back to the Humble Market Timer YouTube channel. Once again, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I want to talk about Palladium. Price targets revised up. Before I go any further, please check the description for my disclaimer. Once again, these are my sole ideas, not investment advice. Now, as we all know, precious metals have really been on a heater all of 2025. We know about the exploits of gold. I believe gold is up over 60%. Silver is up over 100%. Platinum is up around 100%. Sort of the forgotten precious metal, though, is palladium. And I did a video on palladium about 2 months ago, and I kind of talked about how it was really set up to really get a nice push higher, and I gave some preliminary price targets based on what I was seeing with the action overall in precious metals and sort of where we were at that particular point in time. But there has recently been some news that is about to be widespread, that has come out recently that I think deserves to push the palladium price targets even higher. And that particular news is this. Basically, it says the EU yields to pressure from automakers as it rethinks the 2035 combustion car ban. If you guys remember, several years ago, they came up with this ban on combustible cars, of those combustible engines, because of the pollution, and they wanted to move towards a more environmentally friendly automotive industry. And so a lot of the manufacturers have said that they weren't going to make any more combustible engine cars, and they're going to only start producing electric vehicles. But there has been a lot of pressure put on the powers that be to go back on that initial ban. And it looks like they are finally succumbing to the pressure, and they are going to loosen or even completely not allow this ban that they had put heading into that 2035 year. And so this, in my opinion, is very big news for a particular metal such as palladium, because a lot of the big push in electric vehicles is what caused palladium to drop so much significantly in price, because one of palladium's greatest industrial usage is in those catalytic converters in those combustible engine vehicles. And so now that this ban of, or they're rethinking the ban of the combustible car, if those are now starting to come back and be a part of the automotive industry, then you will now have an uptick in the need for palladium for those catalytic converters. And so with that increase in demand, that would also mean an increase in the value of palladium, because palladium, the price of palladium has been suppressed for quite a bit. And with this now taking place, with this news, it's a game changer for palladium. So now let's look at the technicals of palladium. This is a long-term chart that I've shown palladium in other videos for palladium, particularly the one I showed about 2 months ago, and how it had been trading in this long-term uptrending parallel, and it broke out of the parallel for a bit, but it came and worked its way right back down to the bottom of the parallel, and we have since moved off the bottom of the parallel. As I showed here, palladium is quietly up about 78% year to date at the point of time when we're not making this video. So it has done very well despite sort of being under the radar with all the love going towards gold and silver. So platinum is one of those, palladium is one of those platinum group metals that sort of gets forgotten about, but it has been upticking right along with platinum. It's slightly trading at slightly less for the year than platinum, but it has done well in 2025. And now with this news, we have to see what kind of uptick we could potentially get in palladium with this news. So let's sort of zoom in closer on palladium. Let's kind of adjust this chart a little bit so we can kind of get a feel for the action, the true action in palladium. And initially when I did this chart, I set it up so that we had what I thought was an obvious inverse head and shoulders setup with action about here. Let me probably adjust this a little bit, where we had this sort of as you had this shoulder, this acted as the head, and then this acted as the shoulder. And we did sort of a measured move, and we made a measured move from this breakout point right here. And we said the measured move was about 1800. So I go back in and looked at my previous video on palladium, and you can see that analysis. But there's something that's happening with this chart that I think I need to make an adjustment. I'm starting to see another inverse head and shoulder setup, which could yield an even bigger breakout. So let's zoom out a little bit more, and I'm going to erase this neckline right here, and I want you to start paying attention to this particular setup right here. If you notice, we have shoulder, and then we have the head, and then we went to this neckline and we pulled back. But look at what we are currently doing right now. We are re-attacking this neckline area in that $1,600 price range. And so if we get to this neckline and we break, we're now setting ourselves up for, if we do a measured move from the neckline to the deepest part of the head, and we were to move it to the breakout point, if we were to break out, you're now looking at a new price target in that $2,400, $2,500 price range. So we're talking about a massive move in palladium, even more so than the initial $1,800 price target that I gave in the previous video. And I think what could spearhead this big move in palladium would be the disbanding of that initial ban of the combustible engines, and these car manufacturers producing these combustible engines and having it being banned in that 2035 time frame. So, into my opinion, this is major news for palladium. There'll be lots of palladium producers or some of those platinum group metal producers that will benefit from it, but you're looking at a pretty nice price target for palladium. Maybe not in the next month or two, but I think potentially in the next 3 to 6 months, this could be a potential area that you could look for palladium to get to. Let's sort of look. Let me delete a couple things. Let me delete this. Let's delete this. And let's sort of zoom in and see if we see anything in the short term for palladium to kind of give us an idea of where it could be going in the very, very, very short term. Again, I'm trying to zoom in here a little bit to kind of give us a better idea. What I'm seeing here, just again in the short term, this is the daily chart. I'm seeing action here, and we're going to do a little parallel, and we're going to see how that lines up. And if you notice, it's lining up pretty well, where you can kind of see the parallel that Palladium has sort of been trading in as it has trended off the bottom of this initial parallel that I talked about. You see we are here. I think in the near term, potentially by the end of the year, if we really get a push and this news gets out about them disbanding that, putting that EU ban that they had, that they're getting rid of that, I think you can look for there to be a push up to this area in the parallel for Palladium that puts you, again, as I talked about in the previous video, right at that $1,800 to $1,900 price range. We're in about in the 1560s right about now at the time of me doing this video. I think we could possibly see a nice 20 to 30% push in the next 3 weeks to reach the very top of this parallel in Palladium. And I think that would trigger big moves in other companies like Stillwater, and some of these other platinum group metal miners that are out there. Be on the lookout for a big move in Palladium. I think we're going to see a big move really in all the precious metals. You're going to see a big move in silver, big move in gold, big move in platinum, and I think you're going to see potentially a massive move in Palladium. Hope you like the content. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.